All right, good. Welcome everybody to our December meetup. So each month, the December meetup, we do it a little bit different, where it's more of like a panel instead of just a one-on-one guest. But I enjoy it the most because if you don't get a chance to watch all of the episodes throughout the year, this is kind of like almost like a crash course of just flicking through some YouTube shorts and hearing the meat and potatoes of the guests in their past positions and things that they were able to accomplish, but more so what they learned in this particular year, not years ago or decades ago, 2024, what happened that you learned this year and what ended up being your focus for 2025.
And I think the point is everyone that's speaking tonight has their own video on a YouTube channel, except for Mike Fernandez. I don't know, we deleted it, man. Sorry, bro. You did speak, but everyone else has their own video. So this isn't about their backstory. You can go to the YouTube channel, check out their backstory. This is really just about what they learned this year, what their focus is for next year.
That's it. So without further ado, you might know this guy, Aussie. He's around sometimes on Facebook and around the group. So you would be the first person that we start off with. So what did 2024 look like for you? What did you learn this year?
So I think my major lessons, like I learned to survive, right? It been a tougher market really the last 2 years. So, I did see a lot of businesses slow down, a lot of people stop, the market got quieter. So, I definitely learned to survive. And if I go back to last year when we were discussing this, I was talking about focusing on fast money, on like wholesale, like less rentals, more wholesale cash for now. And I was talking about investing in dispositions. I was saying I was going to hire someone, which I did. John Lester's been awesome. A lot of you guys would know him. So I was talking about like leaning into dispo because like the market was tough. It was harder to sell the deals. So I'm going to hire someone to deal with that. So I think I did that. And I survived through this tougher market. There were some tougher times, like it was harder to move deals, with the interest rates going up, like some buyers went away, right? So, but if you're long-term thinking, if you're in this industry for long-term, you don't stop when things just get a little tough. You need to double down and keep going. And so I learned to survive and I did that. Probably another lesson I learned was cash conversion cycle. So, as a wholesaler, right, I'm doing a lot of marketing, trying to get leads, and I think a lot of people teach you that for wholesaling, some people say you don't need to spend money, which I don't think is true. You do need to spend money, really. If you want to do any sort of volume of deals, you've got to spend money marketing, or if you're not spending money, you've got to spend a bunch of time. But I think, and I've always known that, so I'm not afraid to spend money on my marketing, but I also learned about the cash conversion cycle, and what I mean by that is when you spend money, it doesn't necessarily come back straight away, right? You're gonna spend money, you're gonna generate leads, and not all of them turn into contracts and money straight away. So I looked at my data, and of the deals I closed, about 50% of the closings, the lead came in the quarter before the closing or longer. Right, so I spent that money's gone, it's not coming back straight away. So, you got to manage that. So I learned to manage that and just expect that like it takes a little bit of time for that money to come back. And I think for wholesalers, just important to consider that, just understand that the money's not going to come back straight away, and you need to be prepared to be in the game long enough so that you start getting those closings for the money you spent in previous months and quarters. I also learned multiple exit strategies are important. So, when you're going to have an ideal scenario for a deal, but it doesn't always pan out. I did talk about last year, I was going to do a flip. Like, I'm not much of a flipper. If you know me, I'm more of a sales and marketing guy. Like, I love rentals and I keep rentals, but I'm not much of a flipper. But I said, hey, I'm going to do a flip just to learn. And I just refinanced that flip. I turned it into a rental and I'm refinancing it now. So, it didn't work out. The market was slow, just I wasn't getting the offers. And I didn't really want to just reduce my price because I felt that the market was, like, I could reduce my price, but it's not that the price was too high, it's just there's not many buyers around. So I put a tenant in place, I'm refinancing that deal. So it's now a BRRRR, which is fine. I'm happy with a BRRRR. So But if I didn't have that multiple exit strategy, if I was relying on that being a flip, I would have had to cut my price and I would have lost a lot of equity on that deal. I did also have a subject to, so I did learn that subject tos can get called due. So I bought a property subject to the mortgage and it got called due literally the next week. So, that's obviously, it's a nightmare for anyone that's trying to buy a subject to. That's the opposite of what you want to happen. But I was able to navigate that because I had multiple exit strategies. The deal had equity. It was similar to the rentals. I had a rental 2 blocks up the street, same sort of house. So I was able to put a tenant in place, refinance that deal with a DCSR loan. And so, I got all my money back. It was basically a burr. So, because I had multiple exit strategies, I was able to survive that. So, I think I just learned the importance of that. So that's probably my main lessons, I'd say, for this year.
Yeah. So with that being said, what would be your focus in 2025?
So focus is pretty similar to last year. Really doubling down on what's working. So I want to scale wholesaling deals. So, we had a lot of success this year working on disposition and our acquisitions. We hired a new acquisition manager. What up, Shannon? We had some success there on that fast money. I was trying to make that fast money, which I spoke about last year. So we're just going to double down and accelerate that. I'm not looking to scale the business. I'm not looking to scale up to make it a big business. I'm trying to scale up the deals we're doing because I think the infrastructure we have in place can do a lot more deals. So that's really my focus, to keep that fast money coming in. Doing more joint ventures. We did a lot of joint ventures where just flexing the muscle we had. So we worked on dispo, and because that was working for us, we got a lot of joint ventures where other wholesalers had deals and came to us to dispo it. So that was very effective for us. So because we had that muscle, so we want to do more of that, and that's definitely a focus. And I will still so I haven't been as aggressive on the rentals. So if I look at my rentals, right, I bought 2 this year, and one of them was that flip that I didn't really try to buy. I bought 2 in 23. I bought 6 in 22. I bought 14 in 21 and 3 in 20. So I went really hard, really in 21 and a little bit into 22. And I slowed down this year. I probably don't want to accelerate yet this year. I'm just going to try to get another couple. When the deals work, I want to keep stacking some rentals, but just not being aggressive and focusing on making that fast money wholesaling, which was really what I said last year in this thing. So it sort of worked. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. Well, everybody clap them up. We'll bring up our next guest. I'm going to keep the list. Yeah. All right. Our next guest, Stephen Leonard with Pelican Realty. If you have not seen this episode, you can go on Westbank Real Estate Investors and type in Stephen Leonard, Westbank Real Estate Investors, and his episode should pop up. Happy to have him in town. I had to ask him, was he retired or not? But we got him tonight, and then he's leaving right back out in a few hours. So. Yeah,
a little more than a few hours, but yeah, we're leaving again.
For sure. So we'll ask you the same question, Stephen. So what did 2024 look like for you? What did you learn this year?
To be more picky, for sure. I mean, at the end of 23, 24, we were kind of wondering where things are going. Insurance is obviously still a factor and will remain a factor, but I think there's deals to be had. You just got to weed through the problematic properties that are out there that people are trying to sell.
Yeah. Talk to us about, tell us a little bit more about those issues. With being picky, what do you mean by that, and what led you to that?
So for me, the underwriting side of it, I'm a little tighter on the numbers, and kind of like in the past, it used to be able to just, somebody would send over a property, we take a look at it, do a walkthrough, okay, write it up, we go close, get the insurance in place. Now you've got to get the insurance quote, you got to make sure. And so, it's really running the numbers a lot harder for me, which I won't say didn't do, but I wasn't always very stringent on because I knew the numbers well enough in my opinion. But now it's really trying to figure it out a little bit more. And even and Steve knows this, it's every time I say I'm not buying another property, another one just happened to pop up, and might as well look at it. So yeah, let's take a look.
Yep. And on the property management side specifically, what lessons? Because you've been in it for a while, so what's been different 2024 as a property manager?
From the management side, we've had a lot of inquiries about wanting management. We learned that we're at a point where we're going to start turning stuff down simply because owners are in a bind. They don't have the money to make ready, or they've got a problematic tenant and they don't know how to deal with it, so they're looking for somebody to take it over. One conversation we had, guy wanted me to take over a property, and it was basically, I've got 4 units, but I only want you to manage the one, and they're the problem. I don't want to deal with it, and would you call me any other reason? And well, no. And okay, so yeah, you're a no. Thanks for calling. So it's we're not trying to be mean to somebody and tell them we don't want your business. It's just if you're happy with the way things are going, keep the management on your own. If you're only having a problem and that's why you're looking for somebody and it's going to be a short-term management agreement with me, I've got no interest, because a lot of the setup in the beginning is where we spend a lot of our efforts in onboarding an owner, a property, the unit, and all the details that we put into our software for tracking that owner and the property itself. Yeah. So definitely, again, being picky for me, being the word, being picky on our clients as well.
Interesting. So you saying no?
We have
a lot more.
Yeah, we have this past year, and things that we haven't done in the past, and you and I have had this conversation about doing lease onlys. We're just not set up for that, and because a lot of our marketing comes through our software as well, not just the MLS, and so for us, the amount of effort to put a property in for a single lease that we're only going to get one fee out of, and we may not see them again. Again, there's a lot of setup, and I would have to charge more than the commission normally would bear. So it's easier for us to say no to that. And then same with, we used to get a lot of calls for short-term rentals. We don't get as many. We do get some calls now for the midterms. Because they don't know what to do. They didn't get the license on the short term, so now they want to do a midterm, and again, that's not our forte, so we have to say no to those too.
Yeah. So what's the focus for 2025?
True investors. Our niche has always been mom and pops, so we're going to stick with them, but going after more investors that they tend to be a little bit more savvy. The mom and pops, they fall into it. They inherited a property, somebody passed away, they left it to them or whatever. They're good clients because they typically don't have any expectations, because it was ultimately given to them basically. Whereas investors, they're a little pickier as well, but they know what they're looking for, and so we work well with them, because that's kind of how I got in the game.
Yeah.
So
that's it. That's all we adding to it. So doubling down on.
Yeah, as far as buying, again, we're being picky with them, but yes, I mean this year we didn't plan on buying a lot, and I think we ended up closing 12 so far. I got 4 more units before the end of the year that we just contracted. But, we did sell a couple of doors or close to 12 or 14. Most of those are on terms. One of the partnerships we bought a subject to, it has not been called, so that's good for us, which was a good deal because it was a 5% rate. I think we got 22 or 3 years left on it. It's 2 units, so we've got them rented. It's making good cash flow. So we don't plan on doing any refi unless we have to, kind of like in your situation. But we are continuing to look and buy. And I think last year I was saying we were going to start looking out of state. We did look out of state. We actually looked in Toledo, contracted a couple of properties, and then when they finally submitted, their expenses for the properties over the last couple of years, it was kind of like, you're sucking it dry on expenses. It doesn't work that way. But insurance is very inexpensive in Toledo, I will say. $82,000 coverage for a property, and it was like $600 a year. So desire to be there is good, but got to find somebody we can work with up there. And then we're probably going to continue looking in the Moss Point area again, because we have been looking at some properties over there, but we haven't put any offers in. My manager, yeah, okay. Yeah, my manager's in Mobile, so it's about a half hour out, but I'd rather get somebody in Moss Point that knows the ground a lot better. They can handle it, but you got to get it, you got to fix it up and everything, and then they'll take it over. I mean, that's, half the battle. So finding somebody boot on the ground would be a lot better for us. So buying is still on the radar, yes.
Yeah. And how many cruises we taking in 2025?
We're talking at least one. We don't do a lot of cruising, so I mean this will be my third out of I don't know 15, 20 years or whatever. But they're all inclusive, so that's the good thing about it. But trips are on the horizon. So
got you. Good deal, man. Well, thanks for coming out, Stephen, Leonard, everybody. Kristen, right? Up next we have Kristen Kennedy VanCourt. Again, if you have not seen Kristen's episode, Kristen Kennedy VanCourt, YouTube, Westbank Real Estate Investors. She is one of our more older alumni way back when we were back on the Westbank Expressway at the hotel. So that'll be good to watch. How you doing?
I'm good.
All right, good to see you.
You too.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So, Kristen, you wear multiple hats, right?
Yes.
Multiple hats as a realtor, as a developer. What were your lessons learned in 2024?
Pivot.
What you mean?
Pivot out of a lot of situations. Pivot into new industries. Pivot into new strategies. Taking the focus away from a lot of new construction, going back to some original things that we used to do, like renovations, still focusing on like quick flips, even on the real estate sales side, as much as I don't like them, doing leases. I mean, it's pivot. That's the main lesson I learned. So yeah, I mean, primarily we slowed up with building. So we took a pause on that. We took time to really focus in on specific areas. So I had to be more strategic about where I chose to flip. If I did build, where I chose to build. Whereas before, you had a lot of options. I've narrowed down to maybe 3 locations I'm willing to actually invest in right now. And then additionally, more rental focused versus building, flipping, selling. And then on top of that, just also pivoting completely away from the real estate industry as well. Shameless plug, did open a lounge in Gretna, not too far from here, called K Social. So that was a big pivot, completely different from real estate. But also on top of that, taking on clients on the construction side. So another way to still bring in income from the construction side without it being so much of a risk. But yeah, that's just my biggest thing, mitigate risk.
And what about on the realtor broker side? So not only you as a salesperson, but lessons learned with maybe some of the agents under you also.
So my partner's in here, I had to look at him. So in terms of the agents, we definitely had to learn how to really nurture them, I guess, in a sense. Talk a lot of people off the ledge, get them to understand that, the ones that came into the market when it was really hot, get them to understand that that's actually not the norm. It's not the way that they experience it, where they could put a house on the market and do nothing and it sells. So teaching them old strategies, getting back to lead generating, getting back to cold calling, even door knocking. I mean, you really have to take it back several steps and focus in on marketing significantly.
Yep. So with that being said, what does the shift look like for 2025? What's the focus?
So the focus is still the same. I'm still focusing on pivoting. So looking into different methods of avenues of revenue. Additionally, continuing to focus on the rental market, but also looking outside of Louisiana. So we're focusing on maybe, building, flipping in like the Houston area, investing in that area, the Dallas area, also considering moving to those areas. So it's just, the biggest thing is just focusing on what works, whether it is or isn't real estate, even looking into different industries to invest in, things of that nature. And in terms of construction, we're slowly getting back into it, but we're also pivoting there. The focus for 2025 is to take the land we have and more so use it to build, instead of single family, multifamily homes, take advantage of programs that's available right now, maybe focusing on some low income housing, see where we can get grant money to build, to utilize the land we're currently sitting on versus, carrying these holding costs. So that's just the biggest focus. It's just using what we have as leverage to tap into other potential avenues, specifically more so the rental market.
Yeah, and what about on the realtor side, realtor broker side focus?
Realtor broker side, it's definitely, for the agent side, is focusing on, identifying agents that have the grit, that want to, push through this type of market that we're dealing with. So we do, we are still recruiting and things of that nature, but we're more selective. Yeah. And also, as the other guy just mentioned, we're open to saying no, returning people away, because we realize that it's not worth our time, the stress that comes with it. Because there's a lot of babysitting involved, to be honest, when it comes to, newer agents and things of that nature. So you can it used to be open door policy, but not so much now. We understand that we need people that understand what they're getting into. And then on the sales side, it's kind of the same thing, going back to the old traditions of what we learned when I first started this industry, going back to true lead generating, and then also using, education as leverage, getting in front of first-time buyers, getting people involved with programs that we see are available to them, educating investors about potential programs when it comes to rental properties and things of that nature. Good. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, just identifying what's moving, what's selling, and making that the primary focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to thank you for coming out. I'm definitely taking notes on that one. And remember to go back and look at the episode. So when you say go back, I remember during that episode you talked about hitting Craigslist, doing those open houses. So you're saying now you got to get back to the grind if you're a realtor in the market right now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'd even use Craigslist if I could.
Yep.
I don't think it exists no more, but yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Jay Alexander, all the way from Baton Rouge. Everybody get up for Jay Alexander. Same thing, Jay has his episode. Just YouTube search Jay Alexander, Westbank Real Estate Investors. How we doing, Jay?
Hey, what's up, man?
Right, welcome back. So, same question. How was the year for you, and what were the lessons learned in 2024?
Man, so I got some notes for me here. You mind if I take
Is
my
that
notes
many
out,
lessons?
man?
Okay.
All right, so I think the first thing, man, is just really me getting back to the basics. These last 2 years has been crazy. And anybody that's still in the market as investors that, survived these 2 years, we really go benefit, I feel like, going into 25. Because a lot of people dropped out the market, so only the strong survive, But I would say one thing for me is really getting back to the basics. It was a lot of things that I did that got me to where I am now, that we stopped doing. For example, like we weren't consistent with our quarterly meetings with our team, making sure they knew the vision. We had weekly trainings, whether it was dispo, acquisitions. We kind of got away from that. Tracking our marketing like we're supposed to, making data-driven decisions, different things like that. So we getting back to the basics, just like, the young lady said, it's that's what's go get it, And, back after COVID and inflation and these crazy numbers and low interest rates, people thought real estate was easy. Yeah. But we've been getting it out the mud. Yeah. So it's just really back to getting back to the basics and know, what works and getting back to that.
Yeah. What else you learned?
I would say execution, man. Execution also, that's key. Doing the hard things and the things that you're avoiding, take them on first. Don't linger, don't procrastinate. Whatever you're looking to implement, I feel like the speed of implementation is like key, and I think that's also vital, for success. Yeah.
Good. What else you got in your notes?
Man, so I got one more thing I learned, and we were talking about this earlier. Relationship capital, man. I think that's key too. Just building these relationships, and over the last 2 years when it was tough. I can pick up this phone, man, and call and solve these problems right from the phone. And that's just over the years of doing good business, building rapport with people, adding value to people. And I think the most important thing, and Steve's touched on it too, as far as with marketing. And, right now my primary focus of business model is wholesaling. So, a lot of people go out there and teach marketing, spend money. But it really takes a balance of marketing and organic leads that turn into revenue. And I think if you think about any other business, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a lounge, just think if any other business had to survive off of, they had to spend $1 every time for them to generate revenue. A lot of these businesses, they'll go out of business quick. But in wholesaling, that's what they teach. You got to spend money just to get that revenue every time. But it's really a balance of being able to create organic along with the marketing. So when I say organic, referral business, that's not talked about with wholesaling. JVing, networking with realtors, different things like that where you didn't have to spend money to get that revenue in. And people don't talk about that, but I think you got to have a healthy approach of, you still got to spend money to get your own leads because you can't depend on somebody else to, to feed you and your team. So I think it's a combination of both in order for it to be healthy. So that was a really big key, for me. And, once you come through the people, even like with the JV, like Steve say, it's a win-win. They gonna keep coming back and, y'all gonna make money together, and it's a win for you because you didn't have to spend money to get that deal. So where you may have spent $5,000 and it's a 90 to 120 day cycle before you get that money back, but you got the organic coming in, so it's balancing the whole process out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
If that's the lessons, what's the focus? What's the focus?
Focus, man. So I got to get some big swings in, man. Some big profit margins. Louisiana as a whole, compared to other markets, we don't have those big swings consistently. So in, 22, we were in 9 different states, from Louisiana to Alabama to Florida to Illinois. Like, we're in a lot of states, and we had some contacts with hedge funds. And the hedge funds they're starting back to buying now. So I think going into 25, we go get back into some of those markets that we were in before. And as far as those bigger swings, we go target more multifamily projects where we either gonna wholesale them or we go, create some kind of equity play for us. And also, targeting landlords where we can get some of these bulk projects where some of these old landlords looking to get rid of 10, 15, 20 properties where we can get some of the bigger swings. Yeah. Because I think that's the thing too. You can do numbers, as a wholesaler, but if the profit margin is not big enough, it's still, you kind of beating a dead horse. You on that hamster wheel. Yeah.
What you mean by big swings? Because remember, people on YouTube.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I would say a big swing for me, I'm really trying to look at, minimum $50,000, $100,000 swings, where I can get work a multifamily out and, give me a 6-figure swing. That's really what I want to look into doing more of that. I got peers in other states and people that I personally know that's getting those swings, getting those 50, 70, 80, and it's more consistent. A lot of that on the West Coast too. But it's the same process that we're doing out here. Why we can't get some of that money over there, Yeah.
I agree.
So, yeah.
Anything else we're doing different? Because I know you do a couple different things. You have your Meetup, wholesaling.
Yeah. So the Meetup, we had our end of year planning last night, so we got our schedule lined out for that. So same old thing for that. You know, I also got the contract with the custom suit company, so I do custom suits also. And I'm looking for big swings on that too. So we are doing more NIL deals with the LSU Athletics, the football team, basketball team. We getting into Southern, trying to get them guys suited up. So we looking to network with more small businesses that's looking to promote their brand, you know, through the athletes. In return, you know, we suit these guys up and they promote their brand through the social media, you know, so it's a win for both of them. So anybody looking to do any NIL deals with some of these players, we are doing that in reference to around suits and weddings too.
Okay.
We're starting to do what's called a groom experience, man, where, you know, the ladies always have their nice dress. They spend all this money on the dress, and, you know, the guys go and get this little cheap tux, so they guys are going more accustomed now too. So we got a groom experience where we set them up and we take care of the venue, you know, whether they like bourbon, whiskey, food, and we suit the guys up, provide music, you know, background music. So we got some of that going. And other than that, I think that's it, man. I'm looking forward to 25, the election over, Feds dropping the rates. So everybody who's still here, it's time to eat.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, everybody put it together for Jay Alexander. Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. All right, next up we have Bob Thornton. Bob Thornton, everybody give it up for Bob. Bob is one of our, another older alumni back when we were over at the first floor of the gymnasium before we moved over here upstairs. So, Bob, I can't wait to hear your perspective on lessons learned from the CPA side and the investor side equally. So let's get into what's lessons learned 2024 from a CPA and an investor perspective.
Well, on the CPA side, I work with hundreds of real estate investors, so I see a lot of changes. There's been a lot of pivots. The guys that have seemed to have done better have shifted mainly to leasing, and the guys that were in leasing were doing well. There's a lot of strategies we can use to save taxes when you're leasing. If you're flipping and wholesaling, there's not a lot of strategies to save tax. You're in the highest tax bracket because you're paying not only your income tax rate, you're also paying self-employment taxes on top of that, which is Social Security and Medicare.
Push up a little bit more. Close
Huh?
to, yep.
Sorry. So, you know, so I've been working on guys with those strategies and shifting over that. The guys that got in the market because the market was hot, it's like those guys are pretty much gone. I mean, you've seen that. There's a lot less people out there. I work with a lot of realtors as well, and there's a lot of realtors that are not doing anything. What was interesting, though, is the top realtors is like when I ask them how's the year, it's like, yeah, it's down like 5%. It's like I have other guys like they haven't done anything, haven't sold anything. So, you know, the guys that it basically comes down to if you're willing to get out there and work, you're going to be okay. You're going to make the money. It's just you got to get out there and do that. So that's some of the things I've been seeing. As far as a cool tax strategy that I learned this year that would apply to some of you guys and is what's called a rollover business startup. That's where you set up a corporation, a C corporation, taxable corporation. You set up a 401k plan in that corporation. You haven't done any business yet. You just set up the structures. And then you roll money into the 401k. It's a self-directed 401k, by the way. And then that 401k buys the corporation that set it up. And then you can do a lot of stuff in that corporation, and the dividends from it pays tax. Because one of the problems of running a business in your IRA or 401k is you have to pay unrelated business income tax. But in this case, you're paying the corporate tax rate, which is right now 21%, but the dividends and the excess cash you have flow into your 401k, and you don't pay any tax on that. And if you set it up as a Roth, you will never pay any tax on that. And so that's a way to build a lot of money into your Roth. So you guys could split your businesses. If you guys are doing a lot of flips, for instance, in the high tax brackets, you could still do the flips you need to do to live your lifestyle and everything you need, but the rest of them you could be running through this corporation and all that money building up into your Roth. And then now as you get that cash in your Roth, you can use that to buy rentals and other investment properties and just build this huge empire in a tax-free environment. So that's one of the things that I learned more about this year. I discovered that a few years ago, heard about it, and started looking into it and questioning the stuff. But I've spent more time this year learning that. That's a cool strategy. So if you guys are interested in that, we can talk about it. One of the things I did this year from the real estate side, though, is I bought a commercial building. I'm moving my office. I've been renting, really cheap rent. I couldn't pass it up. But the building also leaks like a sieve. So all our stuff is away from the walls, because when you got heavy rains, it would come through the windows. They weren't the flashing wasn't in the windows and everything. The landlord sold the building. I had first right to refusal to buy it, and I said, what do you want for it? And he told me. I said, no, it isn't worth that. And so I said, no, you go ahead and sell it. And then there was an upstairs. I'm in a 2-story building. There was upstairs that the landlord was living there. He moved out, and obviously now it's rented to someone else. But the day that they rented it to someone else, I called them up and said, I'll take upstairs, because I was outgrowing the space I was in. They said, we just leased it to someone else. I said, okay, well, now I might not be here very long then. And then so I started looking for space. And, there's more office space available because of COVID and everything else. But at the prices that I was looking at for what I needed, I'm sitting there going, damn, I should buy a building. Why? It's like, because my lease payment would be, right now my mortgage payment on the building is less than a lease payment would be for the same building. And I found one that was owner financing. And I made them a full price offer, 10% down, 7% over 30 years. And they came back and said, we're okay with everything except the 30 years. We'd like to have a balloon, which, a lot of you guys know balloons are for clowns. But, then they wanted to do a bond for deed. I went, okay, I don't want to do a bond for deed, but I'll do a bond for deed. And then I said, but oh, by the way, on this 5-year thing, I'm good, but in 5 years, we don't know what the market's going to do. And if this building won't refinance because it won't appraise for what it is, it's like, we may have to extend that a little while. And I go, okay. So I have that. Now, the funny thing about it, so I bought it for $480. I'm going to give you some numbers. It's like, and I needed to put $48,000 down. I was $48,000 short. So I found a buddy of mine that loaned me $80,000 because I also needed to rehab it, right? So I thought, it's going to cost me $20, pad some in there, I'll be fine. I think I'm up to $60 on the rehab. Lesson learned.
Man.
Double what you think. The other thing that I learned in that process is that and I'm using my clients to help with this, the contractor, the electrician, and stuff like that. And for the contractors coming in and saying, and I said, shouldn't we get a permit? And he goes, we don't need a permit. We're only doing cosmetic stuff inside, all that stuff. I said,
What parish is it in?
It's in St. Tammany.
Okay.
It's in Pearl River. But it's like, half a mile from Town Hall. And it's a well-known building. It's an old VFW hall. And I figured if all of a sudden they start passing by and seeing a bunch of cars out front, because all my employees there, someone's going to stop in and see all the stuff I did and going, did you get a permit? Knowing that I didn't get a permit. So I said, I better go get a permit. So then I applied for that permit. And then the building inspector, there's one guy. He's been there for 20 years. He works part-time because he works in Slidell and the building inspection there, but he does Pearl River at night. But he's a good guy, though. He came in and looked at the plan and said, oh, he's changing that because it was a wedding venue before I got there. So he's changing from wedding venue to offices. That requires a state fire marshal approval. I went, what? So then I get on the phone, I call the state fire marshal and get to someone and say, okay, I have a little sketch. Is that good enough? What do you guys need? I'm trying to get this stuff done. And he goes, no. So I had to call an architect, go through that whole process. And so I wanted to be moving on October 16th was the day after tax deadline. And we'd be in there, by November. Well, that's about the time I called the state fire marshal. And then, 6 weeks later, I got the approval to go with the thing. We had everything roughed in by that time. In fact, by the time I called the state fire marshal, everything was roughed in. And so the building inspector came out Monday and said, oh, by the way, the state fire marshal's got to come out and inspect this next after you've put everything back, and then we'll come in for the final inspection. I went, Okay, so I just basically figured on this time, it was like every day I wake up saying, who am I writing a check to today?
Yeah.
But it's been it'll be a great building when we're there. Most of my clients, by the way, I have a lot of clients in this area. Some of you guys are my clients. But most of my clients I meet on Zoom. We do meetings over Zoom and everything now. They don't really come to my office. I have clients in 48 states. So most of them don't come to my office at all. So so moving to Pearl River wasn't that big of a deal from that standpoint. It takes me as long to get to the new building as it does to get to my existing building from my house because of the back road I can take. So everything worked out okay. And then except the fact that I'm still not in the building yet.
Yeah. So what's your focus for 2025?
So 25, I'm going to continue expanding the CPA firm. I'm hoping to pick up a couple more rentals. Single family is mainly what I'm looking for. Could be a short-term rental or mid-term rental. I'd like to buy something in Florida, probably the Panhandle region. I might look at some stuff in North Carolina because I've got a property there already. My wife just inherited a house that we're selling to our nephew to keep it in the family. But they're on the right side of the mountains, not the ones that had all the damage from the storm.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of industry up in South Carolina, the northern part next to it. So that a lot of people in North Carolina drive to South Carolina to work because you got a lot of manufacturing stuff. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, up there to find some interesting properties. And of course, I like buying stuff either subject to or owner financing, and that's what I'm going to focus on looking for.
Yeah. And on the CPA side, what should we focus on as far as tax preparation or?
Well, it's interesting now that Trump's back in. So he's going to extend his tax law is going to expire at the end of 25, just all things being equal, and all the rates would go back up in 26. So he says he's going to want to try to extend that. So the low tax, we're really in low tax rates right now historically. They're going to be extended, hopefully. I'm hoping that bonus depreciation is going to be reinstated to 100%. Right now it's dropping about 20% a year. This year, bonus depreciation is 60%. And where that comes in, if you buy a building and you do a cost segregation study and break it down into different components, you can write off about a quarter of the building the year you buy it. And that's been huge for a lot of my clients. I had a client in 23. He bought 10 properties and cost segged all of them, and he's over in the Baton Rouge area. He bought 4 properties this year and cost segged those. He's getting less of a value, but it's still, he's got another business that's funding all this, that's high tax. So now, and his wife is a real estate professional, so that means that we can take those losses and offset that other income.
Yeah. And
so I'm working with clients for those strategies, but I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen with the the bonus depreciation. As far as interest rates, people saying that Trump's going to lower the interest rates like that, the president doesn't really have any effect on that unless he can improve the economy, which hopefully he might be able to do. But I think that inflation is still humming along. It's lower, but it's still higher than it was before they started raising the rates. And so what happens if they lower the rates again, inflation is going to take off. So the Fed's got that balance that they're going to be playing with for a while. Yeah. And even if Trump puts a new Fed chairman in there, which, whenever the current chairman's term is up, they're still going to be stuck with, they got to try to keep inflation from being out of control. And we're still at full employment, which is another thing they look at. So it's hard to find people. I'm having a hard time finding. No one wants to do tax anyway. So finding bookkeepers, people. No one's going to school for accounting. It's hard all across the nation with all CPA firms finding accountants. So and that's because there's full employment and people can get jobs doing pretty much whatever they want at this point. Yeah. So.
Well, we appreciate you coming out, Bob. Steve, I tried to keep this to 10 minutes, but it was way, man. I want to
Sorry,
keep
sorry,
going.
sorry.
We'll have to get you back to just do a tax
Yeah.
masterclass for us, especially with what you already know about inflation and what we do in the room. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it'll be a benefit. But clap it up for Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right. All right. Next up, Anitra, you ready? Right. Anitra Preston with Vertical Capital. So another one of our OGs from when we were at the older building. If you want to go back, Elridge Moore, Anitra Preston, they gave their story right around the time when they first started doing private money lending. And now they just been exploding and blowing it out of the water. So happy to see their success. And now we're here to talk about those lessons learned in 2024. How you doing, Nish?
I'm doing good, Emile. Thanks
Good,
for,
good. So
thanks
what's
for
some of
having
those
us.
lessons learned in 2024?
So for Elridge and I, it actually continues from 2023, right, where we kind of left off from there. We just picked right back up. And so for us, it's about relationships. And I had this conversation with Jay earlier, is being mindful not to look at your relationships as transactional, but more as relational, right? And so that has kind of like compounded all around us in every facet of our business, right? So we used to borrow money from a hard money lender. Now that hard money lender partners with us to do deals, you know. We used to send all our deals to a certain attorney. That attorney is now our capital partner. And he started off with 6 figures and added another $57,000 throughout the year. You know, I can go on and on and on. There's been borrowers that we have. Other capital partners whom one time Elridge wholesaled. He's an NBA player, a former NBA player. He wholesaled the deal to the gentleman years ago, and we did the construction on it, or we did the rehab on it, and I listed the property and sold the property. That guy has 6 figures with us, and we've since grown his 6 figures by 30%. So taking every relationship and not looking at it as transactional, but building upon that, because years later, it's gonna come back. And for us, it's literally compounding, you know, as we speak. We got a borrower right now where we extended $353,000 on a new construction at 100%. Why? Because he valued the relationship that he had with us, and we value the relationship that we had with him. And that's on a new construction. I don't even think he even started on it yet. We just did that 2 weeks ago. But in saying that, his value of the relationship that we had prior to this loan that we extended was that he recognized that he needed to bring something else to the table, which he did bring some additional collateral. So that's another reason why we considered doing that as well. Another thing is staying focused and narrow-minded on what our goal is or where we want to be at the end when it's all said and done, right? And so we began to deleverage again back in 2023, just shaving off everything that had nothing to do with vertical capital, that was not bringing us in any money, right? Can I go out there and flip a bunch of houses? Yes, I did it before. Can we wholesale 40 houses? Yes, we did it before. Can I list 35 properties? Yes, I did it before. But when you spread your talents and you don't focus on that one talent, all of a sudden you got 25% over here, 10% over here, 5% over here. Like what's making you money, right? What area of your talent is making you the most money? And so we decided to focus on that. And so here we are. And again, it's compounding, like 22 days of posting on YouTube. We started posting last year, but matter of fact, y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, Vertical Capital.
At Vertical Capital.
Yeah, so we started posting last year. We wasn't consistent with it. and this is to consistency. And so in September, Elch was like, partner, because that's how he talk. He doesn't call me my name. He says partner. He says, we got to get back to those YouTube videos, right? And so 22 days of posting, someone reached out to us and said, hey, I want to invest in your company. Never saw the guy. He dropped $110,000 into our account, 3 weeks ago? And we already got him in a deal, making him money, right? We have other capital partners. I graduated from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program yesterday, and that was through relationships. Thank you.
Yep.
That was through relationships, through one of our other capital partners. He made the recommendation. I followed up on the recommendation, had to interview X, Y, and Z. This same group has committed another $450,000 to vertical capital starting in 2025. So again, our thing is, and it's gonna probably be this way for the next few years until, we get to $1 billion status, is staying focused, not allowing dangling carrots. And so I call things like opportunities to fix and flip. We come across, we're the lender. We're gonna come across people gonna bring deals to us anyway. Just because I know how to do it, I'm not gonna bite on that. I call that a dangling carrot because it's in my way. It's not what is gonna bring vertical capital to the next level. If anything, it's gonna slow me down because now I'm gonna have a certain percentage of my attention over there, and that's not something that I want. If God gives me 200%, I want 200% of my attention on vertical capital.
That's fine. So what about focus 2025 with those lessons learned?
So 2025, because we're so narrowly focused, we are on pace to introduce our first long-term 30-year fixed mortgage. So hopefully by the end of the quarter of 2025, the goal for vertical capital is to take 100% of our portfolio, because it's bridge loans, right? Those borrowers are gonna refinance us out or find some other type of exit strategy. Our goal long-term, starting in 2025, the end of 25. We've been underwriting some deals right now for the 30-year fixed, and the goal is to be competitive at market rate. And we believe with our capital partners and the backing that we have behind us right now, we should be able to be a wrecking ball in New Orleans by offering that 7% or whatever, especially for those who are already in-house with us already, into the 25 or 30-year note on your investment property. So that's our goal.
So break that down a little bit for me. So the focus is to close one. Are you rolling out the entire offer of a 30-year fixed?
So the goal is to, by Q4 of next year, is to hopefully have at least 3 extended.
Okay.
Right. We want 3 extended going and enrolling into 2026 and having being able to, fully offer that to first our current borrowers before we pilot out to the rest of the market. So that's our goal.
Yeah. What else? And what about focus on YouTube, which I'm a subscriber, and I comment.
Yeah, so again,
focus on
the compounding effect, right? I know you guys read that book. I heard that book before, but we've committed to posting 1 a day, and so far I think it's 77 days now, and so far we have not missed a day. Again, we raised $110,000 from someone I've never seen before. So the power of social media is real and present. Yeah.
For sure. Anything else before we let you go?
Nah, I don't have anything else. I just if I can encourage everyone, and to another thing too is that every day we tell ourselves everything we need to succeed and to move to the next level, we already have. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that wherever you are and whatever it is that you're doing, I think God gives you every single tool, and you have to learn how to be resourceful, right? Quick story, when we were trying to do commercial development with those warehouses, we went out and found an architect. This person charged us like quadruple, right? But inside of our circle, we had an experienced commercial developer that we never asked for his advice. We never asked him for his architect until it was too late, right? And then one day at Houston's, he and his partner sit down with us, and they run everything down to us as how this commercial development goes. By this time, me and Elle were $135,000 in the hole. And so I'm saying that to say that that person and persons were always present in our lives. We just weren't resourceful in asking them for help. Not that we were embarrassed or scared or anything. It's just that we just never thought about it. And so that's my statement to you guys, is that everything you need at whatever level you are, you probably already have it in your circle. And that's, again, learning how to leverage relationships as a relationship and not looking at things as transactional.
I agree. I think one of the latest videos, El just dropped a quote from Tony Robbins, said that we don't lack resources, we lack being resourceful. Yeah, we like being resourceful. Yep.
Right. And do what you say you're going to do, too, right? No matter how ugly the situation looks. Like we had somebody's money trapped in a lot on Fillmore, $145,000, and this was a title nightmare. The title was clear on transaction A. We go to flip it. Now there's a $600,000 judgment. There's a $17 million medical claim, Medicaid claim judgment. There's a foreclosure. There's all kind of stuff going on with this title. There's a convicted felon claiming that they have interest inside the property as well. But because we're transparent with our investors, we're transparent with our capital partners, we went through the claim process. It took like a year and a half. He got his principal back, but we paid his interest. We paid his interest, right? So our capital partners don't lose, they break even, because we're gonna do what we say we're gonna do. If we promise you that we're gonna pay you no matter what, even though it looks really ugly and it can get very, very complicated and you might wanna give up and stuff like that, you gotta get through it, right? I've been fighting with the city on another property. There's been a stop work order on this other property since January of this year. I've been in a battle with them on every level: code enforcement, the Board of Zoning, Parks and Parkways. Who else? It's like about all the entities, right? And I went through the last hearing on November 18th. And when I walked out the hearing, we were victorious in our hearing. HDLC was the other one. We were victorious in our hearing, and we were so victorious in the hearing. The people down there, they know me by my face and my name, and I got congratulations. You know, I'm shocked, or I'm surprised, or I'm glad that you stuck it out. So after no work on this property, our investors' capital, almost $269,000, is still sitting in the ground. I didn't get one call from my capital partners. Why? Because of transparency, having prior relationships with them. They know and they trust that we're gonna get their money back. So hopefully next week, we'll resume the construction.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's clap it up for each other. That's a good focus. Thank y'all for coming out. All right. So next we have up St. Bernard Parish finest Mike Fernandez. So Steve, we got to commit to getting Mike recorded in 2025. So our focus is, number one, trying to figure out what Mike's footage is. I don't know if it's with the Blair Witch Project or somewhere, but either we'll find it or we'll get you re-recorded, especially you've covered so much ground and moved so fast since that. I think it's warranted either way it goes to have you hop back on camera with us again. But thank you for coming out, brother. So same thing, lessons in 2024. You as well wear several hats: realtor, property manager, builder. What were some of those lessons from 2024? Big takeaways.
Yeah, and hey, look, man, if I didn't do a good interview, y'all could have just told me. Right? We lost the footage. No, but I'm like Jay. I got my notes, but yeah, I think biggest lessons learned for 2024. The big push for 2024 for us was getting Arpent Realty up off the ground from nothing. So kind of building that structure, getting it up and running, getting agents, getting the office set up. And I'm very grateful that we really had a solid year, given that it shouldn't have been a solid year. And I think one of those lessons that we kind of fell into was having a diversified book of business, so to speak. I know a lot of agents who are like, oh, you only want to work with listings, or you only want to work with builders or investors, or they only do buyers. And I think for us, being very diversified really helped, because I know a lot of agents that only deal with this or that. And 2024 was a tough year. And so I think we're very grateful that we had that diversity to carry us through what I think across the board has generally been considered a pretty tough year. The second thing is, and probably the biggest, just investing in people. I've been historically, and I think to my detriment, a solopreneur. Like at one point juggling W-2, managing my own properties, we're doing builds and flips, plus being a realtor, all these things. And I think this year was the year of we pulled Caitlin in full time. We brought Christian in as the lead sales agent to kind of oversee agents and do the training and mentoring and be available for questions. Brought in an accountant, all things that it's scary. It's scary both from, hey, what if this person doesn't do it the way that I would do it, but also having a full-time employee, a part-time employee is whatever. Hey, if things don't work out, you and your family can still pay the bills. But being a significant part of a family's ability to pay their bills it's terrifying. You know what I mean? It's kind of scary. So I think a big part of this year, the lessons learned was overcoming some of those fears and just really investing in people to where, we can eventually get to where I'm not doing everything, and I think we made a lot of big steps this year with that. And credit to all those people, Caitlin, Adam, Raph, Christian, they've been doing a fantastic job. And then the last, I guess, lesson learned for 2024, I would say, is when times are good, and hopefully we'll get back to those soon, right? But when times are good, negotiate like times are bad. Because I can remember, and I'm hopefully, and surely I'm not the only one, when times are good and you're making $50,000 on a flip, oh, the buyers wants another $1,000 in closing costs. All right, whatever. Oh, the contractor's asking for a little bit more money. That's fine. And money's kind of easy come, easy go. But man, that $1,000 here and $1,000 there sure would have been good to have in 2023, 2024. So I think one of my biggest lessons, having done, I think over the last 18 months, we had 3 flips that didn't flip. That we took Aussie Steve's route, right, where we ended up just burning them and it's not a fail, but it's not a win, right? And I think, looking back, I wish I would have negotiated harder on buying them on every aspect, and it'd have been nice to have those little pockets of money that we left just flat out being lazy throughout the last couple of years when times were good.
Yeah. Lessons learned. Did y'all do any builds this year? I know last time we spoke, that was your focus with building rentals.
We finished up one of the doubles, but we haven't started. We got a couple of lots that were on the fence. It's a lot tougher. Yeah. So we're on the fence with it. We got maybe 2 or 3 lots in Araby that we're looking at building doubles, but we may take the bird in the hand approach.
Yeah, gotcha. So with those lessons learned, what does the focus 2025 look like?
Yeah, so for the focus 2025 is definitely very much all in, hard in the paint on Arpent Realty. Quit my W-2 job actually just like a month ago. So I'm all in full time. Really want to build that up and put a lot of time and energy, that it's going to require. And, St. Bernard's my area in terms of like investing in property management. We kind of want to put like an iron dome over St. Bernard Parish, right? And kind of be the go-to. And then even on the sales side, there's some neighborhoods or markets within there that I want to put an iron dome. Like I get like personally offended. Like, hey, like that sign shouldn't be in my neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. So primarily focusing on, just like Steve said, focusing on the fast money this year. And then if we do any investing or buying or anything, I'm in the middle of weighing, on one hand, my competitive advantage of being here, being local, knowing the market, but on the other hand, the disadvantages of Louisiana, right? And so we're looking pretty strongly at maybe, diversifying a little bit into, I know Bob talked about North Carolina. We love like Western North Carolina. We may try and pick some stuff up out that way, but diversifying geographically a little bit.
And what about focuses on the brokerage side? I know Kristen came up here as a broker. What are you seeing on your end that you think that you might shift gears or go deep on in 2025 as a broker with bringing on agents and running the office?
Yeah, absolutely. We have some aggressive goals. Like I said, we, of course, we service the whole New Orleans metro area, but really wanting to kind of put that dome over St. Bernard Parish and capitalize there. And then just leverage those resources and connections and really get really aggressive on both property management and the sales side this year.
Yeah. Good deal. And what about the Meetup, St. Bernard Meetup? Tell us more about what's the focus for the Meetup for next year.
Absolutely. So definitely going to put a lot more time and energy into it. We kind of tapered off a little bit at the end of this year, but 2025, actually, I picked up our January guest at the UNO thing this morning, Dr. I'm embarrassed and I remember his name. But the guy who facilitated the thing, super smart economist. He's the director of UNO's like real estate division. He's going to be our speaker for January, and I'm super pumped because like I'm a nerd when it comes to the numbers. I love it, and he's like wicked smart. So yeah, definitely going to start off strong, be a lot more consistent. We're going to try and host more of those networking dinners that we do down there, and just try and continue to build off the momentum. But yeah, we meet last Wednesday of every month if anybody's interested down at the Coffee House in Araby.
Good deal. Yep, whenever you guys put it on, we'll be there posting in the Facebook group. Everybody give it up for Mike Fernandez. Thanks for coming out, brother. Did Wynn make it out? Wynn? Nope. No. Wynn not in? Okay.
So the next guest is already sitting here. So Emile Hurst Jr. does an awesome job facilitating the conversations every month at the Westbank Real Estate Meetup. I like to occasionally turn the mic on him. It's I get a kick out of that. So Emile, man, like talk to the group. Tell us what was your key lessons for 24.
Kind of how we ended off with what I talked about last year was diversifying. So anything that's in the real estate sales space, I'm for it. If it's an opportunity I could help, my team could help. I learned this year not to say no to no opportunities. Kind of like what Mike said, where some people might say, I only do this. We do it all in that space. So so Michael Meredith, I always say his quote to myself every day from his episode: "Stay in your lane and go fast." So real estate sales, that's it. That's my biggest lesson from this year. Just like Anitra said, I've been in the flip side, been in a little bit of everything, wholesale, wholesale is still real estate sales, but that's my thing. So you can diversify within your lane. That's my biggest takeaway, and that's what we do. So leasing is doing well. We had a goal of 50. We only got 39 with 2 pre-lease to date, so 40, but we shot for 50. So definitely want to grow that next year. And yeah, so right now I'm rereading Gary Keller's The One Thing. So I think the lesson learned is that one thing. What is the one thing you focused on? So I think I learned that it's relationship building and team building. So just continuing relationships and building teams that can help you go faster and further. Yep.
What did you learn in leasing? Because I know obviously you did the 39 plus the 2 pre-lease. Like, what did you learn in the leasing industry this year and getting properties leased?
So kind of like what Steven touched on, I learned that we have investors that's in different spaces. So I mean, my passion is helping part-time investors like us and even full-time investors, but we have a lot of people in some tight spots right now where they can't really afford full management. So leasing is like their saving grace right now. But it is getting tough. Like, I'm seeing tenants negotiate and asking for stuff that I never heard before. Like, now they asking for washing and dry. I mean, subsidized people and cash people are negotiating, like, if you don't give it to me, I'm gonna just go somewhere else. Or the biggest competitor is them doing nothing. They don't have to move at all unless it's an emergency situation. So saying all that to say, what I'm seeing, if you're buying rental properties right now and you're underwriting, try to underwrite at the most conservative rent. Yes, you can get top dollar based on what the comps are saying, but you're gonna trade that top price for time. If you can go in a little bit lower, get somebody in and maybe bake in some increases on the back end, that's probably the way to go. The people that's holding out for top dollar, we spewing into those 60 and 90 days and they losing money on the back end. The people that's taking that advice and dropping below, we getting good people in because we're getting more leads, we're getting more showings. So now you can cherry pick better leads versus having that drip effect if you want top dollar and getting 1 or 2 people and got to pick out of that. So that's what I'm seeing. Like the tenants or the prospects really have an advantage right now. They could just say no. Yep.
Have you seen more flips that didn't flip? I like that, by the way, Mike.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in the market for leasing? Like
we have. Yeah, we have. And so both sides. So we've seen flips that had to be refied, and then we've seen some refis that the numbers like almost require those top dollar rents. So now you've refied. You normally get that first 30 days in the hole without any payments, but if you have to get that top dollar rent to cover that debt service, you're still sitting on it a little bit longer. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the underwriting on these DSCR loans. Even though the MLS and Zillow might say that it can rent for $1,700, you got to ask yourself, am I willing to wait 90, 60 days for that $1,700, or do we go down to $1,600, $1,550, and then just build it up with a good person, as a tenant?
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, some of those flips ain't flipping right now.
So the flips ain't flipping.
Yep.
Cool, man. And tell me, any more lessons before we move on to focus for this year?
That's not chasing the shiny objects, man. That's what I learned from 2023, and kind of like what Anitra said with those relationships. That not only goes for with the fair exchange of what you could do with other people. Relationships meaning, how do you manage a dialogue when things are not so good, right? Because I do have situations where things are getting tight with the rentals, and we got to have difficult conversations with the lenders. But I think it's the integrity and going the extra mile and doing what you can with the resources that you do have maintains that relationship.
Cool. Yeah. And what's your focus for 25, man? What are you seeing? What do you want to work on? Yeah.
So on the realtor side, I want to do more work with investors. I wholeheartedly agree with Kristen. Cold calling, prospecting, really getting back into the lead generation seat and adding on more fuel to the real estate sales space. We do have admin now helping out on the leasing. We do have a contractor that we pay to do the showings for the leasing. So we want to hit that 50 mark. We didn't hit 50 leases signed, closed. We didn't hit it this year, so I definitely want to hit that next year. And more real estate sales, now that I'm licensed, with investors. I want to focus on that a little bit more. Anything in that real estate sales space, JVs, wholesales, realtor, leasing. If it's the real estate sales space, we want to be able to be top of mind with that.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think was it last year you spoke about, and I know you got this from the meetup, you got the W-2 income as well to supplement things. Is that still part of the strategy? How's that going?
Yeah, it's ironic. So I stole that from Mike and Sterling, and now both of them quit their jobs. So but so and also Mike Harrison, I watched his episode again in January. He mentioned if it's a W-2 that you like don't hate and you can tolerate it. I went back to my trade of teaching, and I'm teaching at St. Aug. So I mean that's not even work for me. So
you're teaching entrepreneurship or something, right?
And I'm teaching business communications and career foundations. So that's definitely not work, and I can still do everything that I need to do during the daytime. So yeah, we did go back to W-2. So that peace of mind, because I mean I had my third son in January. So just the peace of mind of insurance, peace of mind of consistent income is there, but still not taking my eye off of the ball on the business that we building and growing. But yes, that W-2 is part of the diversification to be more stable, which that peace of mind really helps me to focus on the business even more. When I was just in survival mode, it was, how do I make it to the next day versus how do I build my business? So that has been helpful. Yep. Awesome. And I don't mind what I do also. Yep.
Cool. Awesome, man. We'll appreciate you all. This is a bit of a different format we do in December. So whose first time is it here, by the way? Awesome. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate you coming. We do it on the second Thursday of each month. Normally it's more a longer form interview that Emile will do with one speaker, and we'll go in depth of like how they started, how they built their portfolio. We do this end of year one just to get a pulse of what some of our past speakers are working on. I will add, I'll add something. I spoke to Dominique Gunderson, who spoke last year at this meetup. To get like she flips a lot, so I wanted to get we didn't have as many flippers. I want to get the flipper perspective. So she spoke last year about like getting kicked in the teeth. It was a pretty tough year. She took some L's, and she said to me this year was like the market was tough, but she actually did the best financially she'd done, right? So I thought that was interesting to share because it wasn't as nice as 21. It wasn't as nice as those times. But what she said changed was she expected it to be worse. I think Kristen said it right. Those agents and people that came in these like nice market and they thought that's how life worked. She changed her underwriting. So she expected longer holds. She wasn't expecting to sell the house in 2 months. She underwrote the longer hold times. She wasn't expecting the market to keep flying up like people were doing in 21. So while it was a tough year for her as a flipper, they were harder to sell. They did sell. Well, lots of them sold, and she made more money than she'd made in the past. So, I think that's interesting. And again, there was a message of like survival. Like it has been some tough times. Last year, this meetup was pretty tough. There was kicked in the teeth and things like that. Courtney had a tampon in her nose. So it was tough year. I think this year's better, but again, people survived. But I think real estate always goes up and down, and probably the toughest point is when it transitions, and the toughest point is when it transitions from good to bad, right? Because it's going like this, and everyone's getting used to that. They're excited. And they make mistakes like Mike spoke about. They're letting money go, and then when it changes, like that's the toughest turn you'll take. But when it's going down, it's fine. If you're being more conservative in underwriting, you're going to do well. And that other time when it turns, that's the good one. Because if you're living in this market and you're surviving like that, once it turns, you get the opposite. You get the benefit of doing better. So personally, I think we're close to that. So for all you in the room, congrats on being here. Thanks for keep working, keep doing it. We are good. If you want to come for some drinks afterwards, we go to Gattuso's for drinks and food. We do that every month as well. It's a good place to network and get to know people better. We do normally do needs and wants, and people will pitch deals. We're not really doing it today just because it's the longer format. But I do see some wholesalers in the room. I see Tyler. Make sure you're on their list. I see John. I know we got some deals. So John definitely has deals if you're looking. Anyone else just want to say they've got deals? Doug's got deals.
Before we get into the deals, I kind of want to piggyback and add on to what Anitra said on the encouragement side. This group is already built on, transparency and vulnerability. I want to challenge people not only, because I know we post our wins on Facebook, but just in dialogue, just ask some of the other people in the room, hey, what's some of your challenges right now? Because I know a lot of times when we keep seeing other people hit win, we feel like I'm doing something wrong. What's wrong with me that I'm not winning as much as everybody else? But Wynn didn't make it, but me and him have a conversation, and he was able to share some of his losses. Now, he is winning too. He got 3 flips that he going to closing on, but he taking some L's right now and rolling with punches just as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur in the room, this is already a lonely space, period. We can't always talk about our businesses at Thanksgiving and Christmas with other people that just don't understand. But furthermore, people in this room understand what you're going through, the good and the bad. So don't be afraid to share those. And I think that help out a lot when you can exchange that. Hey, I'm going through something. Hey, I'm going through that too. And it helped digest the market and just being an entrepreneur that much easier to go through. So
yeah,
that's it.
For sure. Cool, guys. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Stick around. We'll do some more networking. I encourage you to come to the drinks at Gattuso's. It's always a good time. It's always good to get to know people. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll put this video on there soon in about a week or so, but you'll see all the past videos, everyone except Mike. And yeah, I'll show it to you, man, but it's really bad, dude.
Yeah.
So go check out those past videos, and you'll get the people's full story of how they built their portfolio, how they built their business, etc. And come back second Thursday of the month. It's the first Thursday this time. We do that in December, end of the year, but normally it's the second Thursday of the month. So come back, enjoy. Hope to see you at Gattuso's. Anything to add, Emile?
That's it, man. I learned a lot from everybody. To pivot, do the work, be picky, build relationships, be transparent, diversify. I enjoyed it. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.